NFL Inside Blitz Week number 9. I'm here with Ron from Ron A Sports and Ted from Ted Sobel Sports. That's all the advertising we're going to have on the show. Let's get into it. How's it going, Theodore?
It's good. We're not selling any pumpkins or anything today to our wonderful viewers.
No pumpkins.
Okay. Happy Halloween, everybody. Trick or treat. And guess what? No booze today. Just boo like that. Streaky. That's what I want to talk about, Ron. Teams with streaks going on through Halloween Thursday. There's a lot of them. And we got a game tonight. The Jets certainly involved in a streak going the wrong direction. Just want to get your thoughts on, we'll go with some individual teams, but tonight's game itself, the Jets are really in a situation. If they don't win this game, I think they could just say, you know what? It's going to be a downward Halloween spiral the rest of the season.
Yeah, Ted, you bring up an interesting point about streaks. And so when we get into it, I was thinking about it as you were saying that if a team like the Jets, they've lost 5 in a row, but has their power rating changed sufficiently? Has it been too much, too little? Is it what we expected? That kind of thing. So as you go through and we talk about these teams, both Cris and I can talk about whether or not their losses also match or their wins also match the rise or fall of the different teams. And I know on Tuesday we pointed out a couple of them that rose in Chris's rankings and in mine as well. But sometimes they don't raise. So it'd be an interesting question when you go team by team.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Jets since we brought them up already. Your thoughts on why they haven't changed a lot? Well, let's face it. Their defense has been disappointing this year. And when you lose Robert Saleh, who's your defensive guru, you wonder how that's going to affect the team. And they're not looking any better. They have a few injuries, but what's your thoughts on that? Because that should be their strength. Forget Aaron Rodgers and what he's supposed to do.
You know, I think the first takeaway for me was going back to the first 2 weeks of the season. They had lost Jermaine Johnson, one of their rising stars on the defensive line. There were a couple of other nagging injuries along the defensive line. And I'm looking back at my numbers, and they allowed 66 for 310 running the ball in the first 2 weeks. Wow. So you're talking very close to 5 yards per carry. They brought that down a little bit, but teams have controlled the ball on them a little bit. And that's forced their pass defense to spend a little bit more time on the run. They haven't quite got that going. And then the whole Aaron Rodgers chemistry thing. There's just something going on where they're not finishing drives the way Aaron Rodgers did when he was younger. And the combination of the two has seen them lose a few close games. Add into the fact special teams, Greg Zuerlein now on mysterious IR with a knee injury. But the bottom line is they missed a lot of kicks. And yes, special teams matter.
And how much is chemistry really an issue with Rodgers? Maybe it's just he's not the player he used to be, and they have to live up to it. I mean, he wasn't great the last 2 seasons, certainly the last one in Green Bay, and then you add age, and after the major injury, I mean, it's just like they gotta deal with reality here.
Oh, what's your take, Cris?
I was just listening. It was back and forth there. It's
we charge for front row seats, Cris.
I'm surprised. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of people that are. This reminds me of the Miami game last week, where just everybody is on the Jets, and it's. I'm not so sure that that's going to happen for them. I don't know, but it's a really strange game because what do you have this line, Ron?
I had the line Houston 1.
So what is it now? Is it 1.5?
Well, the Jets are 2. They're 2.5.
Okay. All right.
So well, yeah, I can't get to the Jets being a favorite in this game based on my numbers.
I mean, we do have the rookie quarterback or the young quarterback,
Right.
Short on receivers.
Yep.
On a short week on the road.
Yep.
But I know the Jets defense isn't as shored up as they'd like it to be. So
no, they have injuries on defense. Their O-line is banged up, and they weren't that good anyway. And Alan Lazard is out, one of the security blankets for Aaron. So who knows? I mean, look, on 4 days, the typical Thursday night, anything can happen. But let's hear from Aaron Rodgers right now first, as he talks about only Aaron can do it, recovering so quickly from Sunday to Thursday.
Timo gave me a little fountain of youth. He said he's been taken for a while, all legal, of course. I've been kind of gassing him up. That's why I've been feeling a little bit better. But he's been taking like cayenne pepper and water. So he gave me some before the game. Felt pretty good, but I've been kind of gassing him up. That's why I'm feeling so good. I'm not sure how much that's playing a factor, but my schedule is basically I'm here when I'm here, and I'm doing rehab, and I go home, and I do more rehab. So, I'm kind of taking care of myself nonstop. And if you look at the game, I only got hit a couple times. I got sacked once. I didn't really move a whole lot. That was probably part of it. But I expect to be able to do a lot more this week. Be under center, and hopefully be back to my faster than God chalk speed.
We're basically at the midpoint right now. So how would you assess your performance halfway through?
Yeah, not as good as I would have hoped. I got to play better.
In what ways?
Well, I just got to be more efficient. I've turned the ball over too many times. Interceptions can be misleading at times, but I've definitely had my share of poor throws.
That's our boy Aaron Rodgers, who at least he's living up to whatever mistakes are coming up on the offense. In this case, no finger pointing, but it's early. There's a full day of Halloween left. Let's hear from Houston's head coach DeMeco Ryans, who continues to be outstanding at what he's doing with his club, and talked first about the loss of Stephon Diggs for the year.
Unfortunately, he tore his ACL, so he'll be out for the year. Really hurts our team to hear that news, and he's been such an important part to our team, and just everything that he brought, not only on the field but off the field, the energy, the leader, like the way he worked every single day. He brought a lot to our team, and we have to pick up the slack. A lot of guys have to step up, pick up the slack, but definitely praying for him to have a speedy, successful recovery. It's definitely a blow to us, but we like the guys we have, and our guys have been here. They've been working, understand how we do things, what we do, and so we're excited to see who steps up next.
Okay, so Ron, what do you like the guys they have? Nico Collins is still out, and he's close to coming back, which is good news, but not close enough for tonight.
There's two trains of thought here. Number one, we've talked so much about teams that have lost multiple wide receivers, or in the Rams' case, got back to last week. So now you're out Diggs and you're out Nico Collins. So that's kind of two. John Mechie, I think, is going to have to step up his game. He had 3 catches last week. They throw to 2 tight ends, and Schultz is used. He's going to catch 3 or 4 in this game. Stover is used as well. So they're going to kind of make up for him. But Joe Mixon's going to be an important part of this game as well,
Right.
Because we talked about the Jets not being as proficient against the run as they'd like to be. A little less bodies up there. So if you want to ding Diggs about a half a point, Houston, knock Houston down about a half a point, that's what I did. And that's how I got to the Jets -1 instead of, Houston -1 instead of Houston -1.5.
I kind of like the old rally cry off the injury. So, how teams kind of band together on that first game also. So hopefully they're able to do that. I like Houston and teasers for sure. I think that they should definitely be staying in that range. And frankly, both. I think this game should be within a touchdown one way or another.
Okay. And one of our faves, Ron, the keys to the defense of Houston, Jimmy Ward is out. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, it's a Thursday night game. It's like, okay, you just sort of throw the coins up in the air and see how it lands.
Well, fascinating matchup for Aaron Rodgers because he's going against a defense that's allowing 53% through the air. You
Yep.
take that number, 7-8 years ago, that would be like allowing under 50% in the day's game. 53 is a tremendous number. So Aaron Rodgers may not have the cleanest looks in terms of his reads. Normally, I wait 2 years before I actually evaluate head coaches. I think within a year and a half, I can evaluate DeMeco Ryans and say there's a tremendous coaching edge in this game.
Yeah, he's just been outstanding and really not a surprise. A lot of guys go from being an assistant to a head coach, and you don't expect them to do much. But with him, he has such an unbelievable rallying cry around everybody who ever plays for him. Just loves the guy. So, I think it's a good fit.
Yeah. Excellent coaching demeanor, too.
Exactly. Let's talk some streaks here, guys, before we get into individual games. Okay, you got Kansas City at 7-0. That's a pretty good streak. And every week they find a different way to win. How do you assess where they are as we reach about the halfway point here? And they probably will get even better if they go by their history.
They're right there near the top on my list somehow. They just it's amazing how they convert third down after third down after third down. I think there's only 2 teams in the league that are converting more than 50% of their third downs. And they play each other on Mondays. So,
yeah.
I said it before the season started. They seem to be the best team in the AFC. They're just, you can't get better coach. You can't get a better quarterback. They're disciplined. They're confident. They've been there. I'm kind of surprised Kelsey hasn't contributed more, but he's been picking it up a little bit lately.
Yep. Well, he hasn't needed to,
right?
When you think about it, and I think they're probably using him smartly. Again, as long as you're winning, it doesn't matter. It's just a stat. It has nothing to do with a win or a loss if you just keep winning. And you're not using him a lot. So in a way, and at his age and his beat up body, save him for the later half of the year.
Yeah, I wrote about that a little bit in an article that's out there on Wager Talk. They're using him like Brady and Gronkowski.
Yeah, exactly.
You manage his time because it's the playoffs that matter, not game 7 of the season. If you're a bitter rival, or if the guy's wide open, or he didn't get enough touches the previous game, that's fine. Kansas City's been remarkably consistent this year and most years under Andy Reid, and I have not adjusted their power rating up or down more than a half a point at any time during this season. So that's unusual, but that's where they are. They sit currently just off the leaders, 3rd on my power ratings.
Okay. Where are they on your power ratings, Chris? They're just number 1 in the AFC, but overall.
I have them 4th.
Okay. All right. So, again, like when it was a few weeks now since I got a chance to talk to both Andy Reid and Mahomes as far as cleaning up things, because if they stop turning the ball over on offense and making a dirty mistake here or there, they would win every game even easier. So think about what they could be in the second half, right? And they keep making great additions too on their roster. They just continue
That's true.
to put guys in, and it's like a piece of the puzzle that always seems to fit.
Yeah, they have 15 sacks through 7 games so far this year, which is a little bit below league average. Definitely below league average. So they bring in a pass rusher to supplement Chris Jones. They brought in a couple receivers in Smith-Schuster and Hopkins. So they know what they're doing.
Yep. So let's go over the AFC a little bit more as far as streaks are concerned. You got Buffalo. They've won 3 in a row and starting to look pretty damn good without a lot of playmakers. And if Josh Allen stays clean, as we know, they win. So is that just the way it's going to be the rest of the year? Is their defense good enough?
I don't know if their defense is good enough, but Cris and I talked about it on Tuesday, and they are now tied for first in my power numbers.
Yeah,
Impressive.
I had to eat crow from saying I didn't think much of Buffalo a few weeks ago, and they've been climbing up my ratings. They look pretty darn solid.
Yeah.
Can't argue with it. We'll have to see what they do against Miami, though. It's these divisional games are always tricky. I'm sure Tua is going to be in better shape than he was last week.
You guys remember what the odds were of Buffalo winning the AFC East at the beginning of the year? Because I know Ron liked the Jets a lot, and I don't remember what Cris liked.
Well, we took the Jets because the price was pretty strong when we got it.
Yeah, 270, 275, and it closed at about 175. So
right, so you got
Buffalo
great value.
Became a much shorter favorite. They're probably, I don't remember, but I would guess in the 140 plus 150 range, because Miami was certainly in the mix as well. Maybe they were co-favorites with the Jets. Maybe you could have got 170 on the Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah, by the end they were about the same.
Yeah.
All right. How about Pittsburgh Steelers? They've won 3 in a row. Where do you see them at this stage on how they're getting it done, whether they have whichever quarterback is in the lineup, Ron?
So I probably was higher on Pittsburgh earlier than most people. I have a streak of, because I have a sheet of who I bet and stuff like that. And I have 3 wins on Pittsburgh and 1 loss on Pittsburgh. So I've been riding them because I had their power rating a little bit higher. My guess is everybody's power rating is caught up to mine with Pittsburgh, because they have actually only moved. Well, in the last 5 weeks, they've only moved up either a half a point or a point total on my power ratings. So I think the league and the perception has come close to where I have them, which is, I don't know if they're inside the top 10, to be honest.
Really? Okay. What do you think, Cris, of the Steelers?
Oh, I have them solidly in the top 10. I don't know how you can't like that team at this point. The real oddity was seeing how Tomlin has changed. At his press conferences, he's joking around. During the game, he saw that he was on camera and he gave the thumbs up. He's showing personality and emotion on the sidelines. Kind of out of character for him. So the team's having fun. They had no expectations and pressure on him. I think that makes it a lot easier on him. And the key to the team is, Ron always reminds us, is as long as Watt is healthy, they're going to be in good shape. And the only thing I worry is I don't know how the hell Wilson throws all those pop-ups and nobody intercepts him. I mean, it's incredulous.
Well, it won't last forever if he keeps doing that. And he won't last forever either. He's got a backup quarterback who's dying to get back in there again. It's just whatever buttons Tomlin's pushing is working right now. And that's a great thing. And by the way, it does help that to win actually puts you in a pretty good mood. I just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, he's brutally honest, obviously, in his press conferences. And yeah, Watt had the strip sack, the fumble, the takeaway. He got it himself, and that pretty much sealed the game because you didn't think Daniel Jones was going to come back from that. But the Giants were in the game. Cris has talked about it. Pittsburgh tends to play to its level of competition, and they kind of played with it until Watt said enough is enough.
Yeah. Let's hit the NFC streaky East, where you got Washington's won 2 in a row, Philly's won 2 straight, Dallas has lost 2, and the Giants have lost 3 in a row, but we don't have to talk about them. What do you think of this crazy division that nobody seems to want to take over?
Curious about what Cris has on Dallas, because this is the first time I've lowered them to more mediocre status with their power ratings. They've had a drop that they haven't had. Even in the years that they don't win, it's usually because of some bonehead coaching error or something like that. But their roster is still really, really good, and they still get a high power rating. I don't know, Cris. This year, they have dropped down into the mediocre range on my power numbers.
Yeah, they're not even in the top 15 on my list. You know, they can't run the ball. Their defense wasn't that great even before Parsons went out. He was playing not up to his normal standards. I don't know exactly what it is, but I mentioned it, I think, Tuesday, where I'm watching the first half against San Francisco, and they look like a real team. And I was sitting there kind of saying, you can never discount them. And then before the end of the game, you're sitting there going, how that team is garbage.
You know, my biggest disappointment with them is the Mike Zimmer comes over and their defense is worse. I'm really surprised about that. I expected them to be much, much better. You know, obviously injuries are always going to be a part of it, but we knew that they weren't going to be able to run the ball as soon as training camp opened. So, I mean, it's not even part of their team now. They don't have the talent. And I feel for Dak in some ways. The O-line's not as good, and he's running around saying, I don't know what to do now.
I think you hit it exactly right there.
I'm
still shocked that they went with the roster they did, other than Delvin Cook, who's kind of used up.
And bring
well.
Zeke back. He's 100 years old. And he wasn't good when he left.
I mean, you can't. They are so one-dimensional that it does hurt Dak, and it does hurt the offensive line, which is 3 new starters from the previous season.
Yep.
Well, they're playing the one team that their one-dimensional play actually could be quite effective. Wouldn't you agree, Ron?
Yeah, the thing of it in this game is Dak is going to be able to write a novel before he gets sacked with Atlanta and involved there. So we'll see about that. That is a good team and a good recipe for, hey, you could pass the ball because you're going to have a lot of time. And Dak's an accurate passer. There's no question about it.
Right. But turn that coin around the other way, okay? Now you got the Dallas D against the hottest quarterback in the league in Kirk Cousins. He leads the league in yards per game passing. So what's that going to be like?
So in August, when I handicapped this game as part of the games of the year, I said, well, Dallas is going to be off playing San Francisco. I didn't realize Dallas was going to be so down and stuff, but I said, that's an emotional game. This is kind of a sandwich game for them. Atlanta stays at home. I took Atlanta +1 in the look-ahead line. So I have great value in this particular game for reasons that no longer exist, because I don't think it's a look-ahead trap game for Dallas anymore. I just think it's a good line, but it's not for the reasons that I played the game initially.
Yeah.
It feels very do or die for Dallas at this point. If they don't get it done against Atlanta, that just really lets everybody know that they're in Ron's category of mediocrity.
Right. How about the NFC South, guys? Talk about mediocrity. Tampa Bay's lost 2 straight. New Orleans has lost 6 in a row. Carolina's lost 5, and they're as awful gets. Just thoughts on that division right now, with Atlanta just saying, you know what, pretty important game for them because they all are. You just want to be above 500 if you can in that division.
This is one I talked to Cris about because I was surprised going into last weekend that I had the Saints without Derek Carr and other players 30th in my NFL power ratings going into last. So all of a sudden I'm saying they're playing the Chargers, who's fundamentally sound, who I do have probably a little bit higher than other people, but I had the spread according to my power numbers as 11 last week. And I think a lot of that was due, I'd say 80-20, due to my distaste of where I thought New Orleans was. Now they did get Taysom Hill back last week, but that was the wrong team to go against. The Chargers. That's not a team that he's going to thrive against. Taysom Hill could thrive against Carolina. Everybody's thriving against Carolina. And the question I posed to Cris, and I could pose to everybody who's listening right now, is how much is Derek Carr worth now that he's presumably back in the lineup?
Right.
Yeah. I think we determined about 4.5 points, right?
Wow.
Yeah, 4.5. If you want to squeeze it up to 5, I could squeeze it up to 5. And I still couldn't get to 7.5. I think the lines came down a little bit. It was 7.5.
Oh, it did go to 7.5?
Right, it's down to 7.
Oh,
But
it is
now
down
it's
to
down to 7.
Okay, got it.
And if you want to hold your nose play, I thought Carolina would actually be it, because I don't see the chemistry, the coaching, or anything else that tells me, unless New Orleans is just going to say, hey, it's Carolina, we're just going to run right through them and we're still better than them, which is possible. I don't think New Orleans, based on my power numbers, should be anywhere close to a 7-point road favorite.
Yeah, we got one Ron betting factor could come into play in this game. Dennis Allen, your favorite guy to bet against. This could be the end of the Dennis Allen era if they lose this game.
I don't understand why he has a job as we're speaking now.
Well, because the game's Sunday and it's a little too early in the week.
Yeah, but what about the last week?
I don't, but I'm just saying, if they lose to Carolina, I think he might be done.
2 field goals and a safety against the Chargers.
I know, it's pitiful. It's totally pitiful. What about the West and the NFC? Again, 4-4, baby. It's all you need is to lead the division, right? 3 tied. Arizona's won 2 in a row. The Rams have won 2 straight, and they're in last place, a half game out. Just your thoughts on that division and where the streaks come into play, because this is where San Francisco, we talked a few weeks ago, thought maybe they might get on a streak and get things going and then just take over the division. But who knows what's going to happen with them? They're banged up and a lot of question marks. Ron?
No, Chris goes first.
I was just searching. I wanted to double check what Arizona's been doing over the last 5 weeks.
That's good, because that was my question for you. So we're in tune.
Well, they've won the last 2, so they're better, but are they really good enough? I find that hard to believe.
No, they're not. They even with those 2 wins, they've still lost ground.
Yeah. I have everybody the same.
Okay.
The
Rams?
They played some difficult teams on their schedule already, and the rest of their schedule maps out a little easier than most teams. So they're actually kind of drawing live in that division based on current records and situations. You can't eliminate them for sure.
Right.
And you actually have to consider them as a possibility for that division.
Yeah, I think their power rating hasn't moved up all that much, but their schedule is such that they're going to be a favorite more than they have been, because, like you said, they've been a dog 6 out of 8 times. And the 2 times they've been a favorite, one of them was by a point. So they played a tough schedule. So now that you're going to see them maybe in more of a favorites role, it's not because of their power rating, it's because of their schedule.
Right.
And this is, Chicago comes in having played the easiest schedule in the league, and they have the most difficult remaining schedule. So
we talked about that early. Remember, Chris, that we said the second half of the year, look out, that you better get something on the board early.
They haven't played anybody in division yet, and
yep, exactly.
They've got a tough road, so they have to have this game.
Yeah. How about the Rams at Seattle? How big that one is when you think of, if the Rams win this game, all of a sudden they're getting healthier. They would have won 3 in a row, and they'd be tied for first place potentially.
So I'm still working on where my power rating is for the Rams. I need to see another game with the chemistry going on, because I need to jump them up. And I've started to jump them up because this is a different roster than they had a couple of weeks ago, and so on. Yep. And they've drafted a lot of bodies. They're putting them in different places. They're learning on the fly. And Stafford's healthy. We have to keep reminding ourselves. I have to remind myself that when Stafford is healthy, he's clearly a top 7-8 quarterback.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
And getting his weapons back gave him a lot of confidence. Where Seattle is, they're a work in progress.
Totally.
Well, they'll be healthier this week for once, and this is buying high on the Rams and selling on Seattle after how poorly they've looked over recent weeks.
Right.
I think giving Seattle points at home is asking a lot.
Yeah, one of the other things in regards to streaks is with the trade deadline coming up and how that's going to affect what teams do in the trading department if you're winning a lot or you're losing a lot going into this week.
I'm sorry, I missed the question. I'm sorry.
It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Just
Okay,
how those
good.
streaks are going to affect going into the trade deadline.
Well, if you're on the Saints, maybe somebody inquires about Lattimore. You never know. If Cleveland won last week, so they're a little happy. If they win again, then they're not going to be as much in terms of trading, but they're trying to stockpile picks because the Watson deal is just killing them. Right. And you're just going to have to look across the board at other teams. Jacksonville is a seller.
Yeah, boy, they got hosed. They had that injury before they were going to trade the one guy, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but the Rams, remember we talked previously the last week's game. If they lost the game, there might be some trades in the works. Talking about Cooper Kupp, and even Stafford's name came up, although I don't believe that was a reality. But anyway, just the fact that a win here or a loss there can change the direction of a franchise right now.
Yeah, and look at the Lions. Everybody would have thought that they would have been, desperate to get an edge rusher, and they haven't picked up anybody, and they're still doing all right.
Yeah, well, we knew their defense was good. They don't want to do anything stupid where they force an issue. They're still totally solid on D. Probably, they're not going to be as good, but they're still going to be really good. But let's talk about the Lions and the Packers, one of the matchups of the week. Detroit's won 5 in a row, and the Packers won 4 straight. Jordan Love is not supposed to be practicing and is going to try to play, I guess, without practicing at all week with that hammy.
What are your thoughts on your Lions?
Oh, Goff was practicing today.
Oh, he's fine. He talked yesterday, and we're going to hear from him in a second.
They're sitting a lot of players this week, resting them up. So I think they're good to go. This, it's like Belichick said, you can't stop this offense. And right now, Goff is putting up video game numbers. It's just ridiculous.
All right. Well, you just queued up Jared Goff beautifully there, Chris. That's exactly what he talks about, including the comment on Bill Belichick on how good and deep his team is. Let's hear from Jared Goff.
They're good at it. They're very ball aware. They're coached well. They know where the ball is at. They're going after it, and they're trying to make plays. And it's our job not to let them do that. And we've done a pretty good job with that up to this point. But this will be a big challenge for us, and we got to do our job. It's a fun environment. It's loud. It's going to be fun. It's going to be loud for us. We're the defending champs going back in there, and it'll be good. It's fun. It's grass. It's outside. It's whatever the weather may be. It'll be good.
What do you see specifically about their defense? I know they've changed it up. They've been, kind of that 3-4 for so many years, and now it's a little bit different. Just how much the adjustment been there? You get so used to an opponent and a defense, and now when it's different.
Yeah, there's some similarities, and there's a lot of differences, and it's a different coordinator, obviously, and his background shows up in their tape, and you get a pretty good idea of what they want to do, and it's a really, really well coached defense. It's sound. It's good tackling defense. They know where their problems are, and they do a good job.
I saw you on an interview with Belichick, and he called his offense unstoppable. We get that type of praise. Hearing offense being unstoppable, do you feel that way, man, or just how?
Yeah, I think he was just trying to pump us up a little bit. I don't think by any means. No one's unstoppable. We're as fallible as anybody. But I think what he was referring to is how many weapons we have. We do. We know that. You take away one guy, it's going to be another guy that we're going to try to beat you with. So I think that's kind of what he was referring to. And we do play that way.
There you go, Jared Goff responding on Belichick's saying this team is unstoppable offensively. Well, they're not. You know what? It's going to be interesting to see how they do at Green Bay. But this is not as much about the defense, because if it's Malik Willis against Detroit, it's a whole different ball game. We'll see how long Jordan Love can go, assuming he does.
Yeah, they said he wasn't going to play. they played this game before about kind of dangling the love carrot, and he didn't play. They've got the bye week next week. You'd think that they would be more cautious. What do you think they'll do about it, Ron?
A divisional game, Love's going to give it a try if he can. Right. And there's such a massive difference. It's always about matchup analysis. And this is not a good spot for Willis. I mean, maybe he sneaks out and runs because he's first read, misses that, then he goes out and runs, and maybe he has success. But the Lions are learning right now that their cornerbacks need safety help. Their young cornerbacks are not ready right now. And that's the weak link right now. You could argue wide receiver 2 is with Jameson Williams in and out of the lineup could be another area they could shore up. But we knew that going into the season anyway. In this particular case, I think Jordan Love can have a lot of success against Detroit's secondary. Conversely, I think Green Bay, who's played much better defensively with the new coordinator, this will be the real test to go against this diversified team that finally got tight end Laporta into the mix last week.
Yeah. It's assuming that Love does play and let's just say plays most of the game. I'm just wondering how his lack of mobility, because he's probably going to try to play smart and, hold back from scrambling or doing what he needs to do, what he would normally do, how that would affect the Packers offense against the Detroit D.
Nothing from me.
Don't forget, he's missed a couple of games and he's leading the league in interceptions still. He's not playing the same way that he was last year. And I'm not sure how well Green Bay is going to be able to stop the Detroit running game. They aren't very good against the run. Am I right, Ron?
Green Bay against the run.
Let's get those numbers, baby.
Better than usual for them. Just above league average against the run. Definitely better than usual from my standpoint.
Okay.
I think Love isn't a running quarterback. He has very few rush attempts. So I think as long as his arm is fine, it actually doesn't affect his offense.
No, but I'm not talking about running. I'm talking about scrambling because he's a really good scrambler. He comes out of he likes to throw on the run. And he's taken a lot of that from Rodgers. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. Not with that hammy. Did you see the way he limped off the field? He's got to be careful. Let's put it that way.
To the Lions' credit, they have 20 sacks this year, which I didn't really see coming with Hutchinson out. Of course, he had a lot of those sacks early on. So I think the Lions, typically Green Bay is one of the 3 to 5 best teams at protecting their quarterback. So I don't see the Lions pass rush getting home a lot unless they actually change. They say, we know that Love has a hamstring issue. Let's go after him. But they're going to get burned that way if the O-line holds up.
Yep, absolutely.
I would think that the Lions would be more focused on ground control. They don't want to get into a shootout. They know that that their secondary against these receivers are up against a tough challenge. So I think shortening the game it has to be on their game plan.
And I think Love might be looking for his tight end a lot in this game too. Safety valve over the middle, quick stuff, where you don't have to worry about the other factors we just talked about. Let's go over a few other games. What about the Broncos at Baltimore and your thoughts on Bo Nix playing that defense? And he's leading the league for offensive TDs for rookies and continues to play very well.
Well, Lamar Jackson is not practicing again. So
yeah. What's the latest on that? Is he supposed to play anyway?
Yeah, there isn't any indication he's not going to play. Some of the books pulled the game off the board briefly, but the line has not moved at all today. It moved from 9.5 down to 9 yesterday. You know what? This is going to be a whole different league of competition for Broncos, offensively and defensively, and it's going to be very interesting to me to see how they stand up to it because I've got Denver's defense rated very high, but who have they played? So this is going to be a real test for them.
Yeah, Lamar has got back and knee issues that they listed. So, maybe it's just a maintenance thing. It's like, just rest him. He doesn't have to practice that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't take anything into that. Obviously, Nix has been everything Sean Payton wanted him to be. Quick decision maker, throw over the field with accuracy. As a rookie, even though he's an older rookie, he's not necessarily going to lead wide receivers the way established quarterbacks do in the NFL. The question I have, and that's the question everybody's going to have, is you can beat Baltimore because Baltimore makes mistakes, especially in the fourth quarter with their coverages. It just seems like no lead is safe with Baltimore. Nix would have to throw the ball a little bit more downfield, in my opinion, to take advantage of that. But that's not been part of his game. Take out the Carolina game, because, again, you have to take out those Carolina games.
Right.
People get confident against Carolina. This is a big test for him, and I don't know which way it'll go.
Yeah, my only thought is that because you can't trust Baltimore when they have a lead, do you just say, I got a little value if it's over a touchdown in this game? I'm just taking the points.
My numbers really don't support either team.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
Oh, I have to be involved with Denver. It's amazing.
Is it 9.5 still?
A double-digit favorite the week before is now nearly a double-digit underdog.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of odd. I did happen to look up how the performances are of teams like Baltimore as a heavy favorite losing outright like they did last week. What happens the following week when they're favored by more than a touchdown? And it's not horrible. It's a negative ROI of some sort, but not as bad as you would think it would be.
So is this a game where I need to call both of you guys in the second half? Reminder to bet against Harbaugh in the second half, whatever happens.
I don't know if Nix is that kind of quarterback who could engineer. I think they're better off having run-pass balance at the beginning of the game and keeping Baltimore's offense off the field.
Okay.
Yeah, this game really is one of those games where I think their number one goal is don't let Baltimore get a couple of quick scores. Don't fall behind and don't get yourself out of the game right off the bat. If they can be in the game and gain some confidence and change the pace of the game that Baltimore wants to play, then they may benefit that way.
Let's take a look at another AFC battle with Miami at Buffalo. And, is the Tua factor enough to get them over the hump here? They are awful at Buffalo. They've lost 7 straight in upstate New York. And I guess it doesn't even matter what the weather is. It's not going to be cold yet. But anyway, thoughts on Tua going against the Buffalo D right now? Under the circumstances, it looks like the Dolphins are ready to just forget about this season soon.
Yeah, I'm looking at my numbers. Tua had the bad playoff game last year, but the whole team had a bad situation. I had Miami week 2 when they laid an egg against Buffalo in the game that they were supposed to have revenge, and Buffalo really took it to them even before Buffalo became Buffalo. They weren't hitting on all cylinders.
Now it's double revenge.
Yeah. So now it's double revenge, and they haven't played well there. It just may be a matchup problem for Miami defensively, for example.
Yeah.
We could talk about Tua all we want, but Miami's defense has to play better against Josh Allen's Buffalo team. That they'll lose the game regardless of what Tua does if they don't play better defensively.
Right.
How do they get Hill more involved? I mean, this guy's been the invisible man for weeks. And they didn't even get him involved last week much.
Well, you do have to have somebody who's able to throw to him, and they finally did this past week. But, first week back for Tua, I think I don't think that was a major, they're just trying to get him into the flow again. It's like training camp all over again for him.
Tyreek caught 6 passes for 72 yards last week. So that's fine. Didn't do a lot of damage that way.
No,
but I'm trying to see what his numbers are. He only caught 3 passes in their first meeting this year. So they let him have his catches, but he hasn't done damage against Buffalo.
Right. And Bertie brings up a point about Hill's toe injury. He seems to still be running his routes. You never know if that's a factor or not. I haven't heard him run over to the sideline and say, ouch, yet, but who knows?
Yeah. Do or die for Miami. I mean, they may not make the playoffs whether they win or not, but you're going to have another divisional loss. This would end it.
Yep, absolutely. Are you guys doing this game or not?
Not at this time.
Okay, that's interesting. Both off the game, even with the spread as it is. Yeah, because I guess you really can't trust what look at this. Who is that? What is this dog?
Well, he's been bothering me the whole time, so
I don't blame him.
Where's my dog? In the other room.
What's your dog's name?
Gizmo.
Gizmo. What's up, Gizmo? It's about time he got on the show.
I think he's hungry.
So am I. I'm hungry for a win. Give me a win in the Raiders-Bengals game, guys.
Oh, boy. Another winner. Another winning game.
Yeah, solid touchdown. Well, I'm curious here because I'm wondering if, and I joked 2 weeks ago, after Devontae Adams left, that it would be the Brock Bowers show the rest of the year. And he got, I think it was 14 targets or something the next game. Now it was way down last week, but don't you try to put him involved like all the time, specifically on the road here at Cincy?
The problem with that is the Raiders are minus 13 in turnover margin. So if you're just going to throw to one guy all the time, the other team's going to try to bait them. And Minshew is not exactly a guy who shies away from turnovers.
Yes.
So, if you tell me that Vegas doesn't turn the ball over, sure, they have a chance to beat Cincy because Cincy is a flawed team as well.
Yeah, they're 0-4 at home this year, too, by the way. Great home field advantage. That's almost impossible. You haven't even reached the halfway point.
Yeah. Historically, actually, Cincinnati has poor home favorite record until December, by the way.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You just take the 6 points because it's there. Makes sense.
I think you have to be concerned with how physical the Raiders are. For some reason, I get a sensation that the Bengals are a little soft, and the Raiders end up beating up teams by the end of by the fourth quarter. That's what keeps them in the games.
Right. Well, it's always their defense and Max XX Crosby, right? Yeah. That's what he's about. So, hey, look, all I know is that Antonio Pierce is going in there saying we're going to make this game close. And I'm thinking 6 is a lot because Cincinnati's awful right now.
7.5 is the line.
Oh, it's at 7.5? Oh, it opened. Did it open at 6? That's
Not
what
that
I saw.
I know of.
I saw 6, so I don't know.
Huh.
Okay, 7.5's even better.
It would be I wouldn't be recommending Cincinnati in this game to give over a touchdown.
Right. All right, one more game. Let's talk about the Sunday nighter, the Colts at the Vikings. Joe Flacco in there. Is this already the end of the Anthony Richardson era? when he took it, I know, but he took himself out of the game. He's throwing the ball all over. He looks like he has no idea what's going on out there.
Yeah, we should have a tribute to Richardson and take a break during the show.
Yeah.
What, a moment of silence?
Well, yeah,
one game off. We take one game off.
Let's take a game off.
Oh, okay. Is that a hint?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
how about,
it's kind of a hint.
All right. How about last one? Then let's go Bucks at the Chiefs and your thoughts on that game. Can Tampa Bay hang in there without their 2 receivers for the rest of the year? I mean, can they go against the elite and be competitive?
Yeah, I think that they can make games interesting. With Baker, he's just a wild card. You never know what he's going to be able to get away with. You can't count him out. I mean, I think the guy is graduated to a higher level as a quarterback. He's certainly not top level, but he's at a higher level than he was, and he can make things happen. And as he adjusts to the receivers that he has, he's going to be able to accomplish more. And Kansas City's never concerned with getting margin other than against San Francisco, they were able to. But
just win, baby.
Yeah, just win.
Yeah, this game's on a Monday night, so it has Kansas City's attention. If not for that, it might be a little bit interesting. It's been pointed out, and I think I pointed it out in the article as well, that Mahomes has one Super Bowl loss, and it was to Tampa Bay. So he doesn't want to lose to Tampa Bay again. They played one time since then, but this is their first home game since that 2021 Super Bowl. The big issue for me is Tampa hasn't been defending the run. So it'll be interesting because I thought Tampa would do better against the run. It'll be interesting to see what Kansas City does because they've been without Pacheco, obviously, for weeks. And they haven't run the ball that well as either because Hunt, he's a decent running back, but his yards per carry isn't anything fantastic. So I don't know if Kansas City will take advantage of Tampa's deficiency. So the big issue does come down to Baker. He's going to do everything he can. He'll on third down and 7, he'll try to scramble for 8. He'll throw his head right into the linebacker mentality kind of thing. It's going to take a lot of Baker's gutsiness to get it done on Monday night, but we'll see. It should be entertaining.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Ron, your thoughts, though, on the guys they have left after losing the 2 receivers, and how they'll be evolving for the rest of the season as long as they can get some wins in there and stay afloat.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of the same thing. Let's see, what team did we have that we talked about where they have to adjust? They don't have the same route running characteristics. So even though Baker Mayfield had a world of time not being sacked against Atlanta last week, and he threw for 300 and some yards. The question is, would Evans or would Godwin, would they have taken a pass to the house because of the chemistry, whereas the lesser receivers couldn't do that because they're still learning the route running nuance.
And the answer, I think, is probably yes, but go ahead. On some of the time,
No, the answer is Tampa would have won the game against Atlanta, but the answer in this game is Kansas City and Steve Spagnuolo, too sophisticated to allow too much to wide receivers that aren't wide receiver 1s or even wide receiver 2s. That's why Baker has to do a lot of the work. And the tight ends, Otten, for example, has to do a lot of the work.
Yeah. Are you guys doing anything on this game?
Not me.
Probably not.
Okay. I'm thinking I like the overs in the game. I think it's going to be a wide open shootout, even though we don't know who can officially get into the end zone for Tampa. But I think they will. I have a feeling they will because it's one of those Monday night wide open affairs.
Possible.
Yep. Anything else on your mind, boys? Yeah. Write that down.
We glossed over Indy a little bit. So Russell said, wait, we got to come back a little bit on the Indy game. And
I thought you guys wanted no part of that game. That's why I left it.
No, you missed the clue because Richardson took himself out of the game for one play.
I know that. I mentioned that at the beginning.
Yeah, so we were taking one game out of the equation.
Oh, okay.
No, Richardson, Flacco is the right quarterback to go in this game. And Flacco, what it does is, in my opinion, it makes the over live. And Cris and I talked about that on Tuesday.
Okay.
There were a couple of questions I wanted to get back to. That's what I'm scrolling by to find.
That's right. Before you get back to that, let me just say, as far as Richardson is concerned, though, he's sort of doing what we had talked about at the start of this career. The expectations are low from those who know what he's about, and he's learning, and he's got to learn how to read NFL defenses. He needs to be more accurate. He needs to make better decisions, blah, blah, blah. Those are a lot of key things you need to do, and he hasn't done them yet. The question is he ever going to learn how to do it? The guy has 4 touchdown passes and 7 picks. That's not going to get it done in Pop Warner.
44% completions.
Exactly.
In the NFL, that's a fireable offense.
And it's a fireable offense at a park league, 44%. So
where do you have the Chargers, Ron?
The Chargers, again, it's what we talked about. I had them higher than most people, but now they plateaued for me. So they're kind of in that 10 to 13, 10 to 14 range.
Yeah, they're not in my top 10. They're probably they're not that close to the top 10 actually still.
No, but their defense has been absolutely spectacular. And I keep saying, who have they beaten? But they're holding teams to, last week again under 10. I mean, it's phenomenal what they're doing defensively.
Ron, you have a strength to schedule adjustment in your model?
No, I don't, because the power rating, in my opinion, the power rating should be a standalone item compared to strength of schedule, because it's kind of taken it. Oh, I guess I should backtrack and say, yes, there's something in that my power ratings are driven by if you beat a bad team by 20 points. The power rating in my model knows that you beat a bad team by 20 points, as opposed to if you beat a good team by whatever. So it's kind of in there as well, but I don't consciously do anything about it. I let the numbers play itself out. You don't know what a team is, for example, weeks 2, 3, 4, or 5. How did we know that Washington was going to be 6-2, at the start of the year, or Pittsburgh would be 6-2 at the start of the year, or a couple of these teams, or Dallas would be where they are. So I just let my power ratings work, and it adjusts itself based on who the opponent is played.
Okay, well,
there's just so many variables when you're discussing strength of schedule, because the injury situations are different. When you catch another team is different. Rest is different. Each team has 2 to 3 games at the other at the extreme excellent play category, or the extreme horrible play category. So I believe strength of schedule pretty much kind of evens out, believe it or not, because certain teams everybody gets up for, and there's just so many things involved with it. But this year, it seems like there's more extremes, like Denver at this point. They're really skewing things. And
there's one more point to be made about that, is that the NFL, because they have 3 consecutive road games, 3 games in 10 days more often than ever before, road, Thursday games and stuff like that, home versus road. Minnesota this week, this is their second game in 28 days.
Wow,
so
crazy.
You're talking about rest. That's like double rest. So you've got some of these other factors that influence or make strength of schedule a little bit weird for me.
Yeah, that's true. Well, to wrap things up with the Chargers, are they in a good spot here at Cleveland? Because the Browns are, I don't even know what to think of those guys right now.
I would say they're in a slightly negative spot. What about you, Chris?
Because?
Jameis Winston has energized the team. The style of Cleveland's play is a better matchup for Cleveland than it is for other teams that play the Chargers.
Okay. What do you think, Chris?
I think that's quite possible that the team really didn't want to get behind Watson, but Winston's going to be Winston. And, we saw that first game out, and that first game out for a backup quarterback or a quarterback getting back into the lineup usually is at a high standard. And then there's a drop off on game 2 or 3. So
yeah, that's my issue too in this game.
I think, you're looking at San Diego or the Chargers at finally, healthy on offense. So that's going to allow them to do more things. And Cleveland's defense is is banged up more again.
Right.
So the Chargers, we might see some different plays. We might see things that they haven't been doing. We might see some more aggressiveness.
Yeah,
there's a lot of variables in this game.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I think the Chargers overall are the better team, and it's an odd situation because Cleveland had a hell of a lot of potential, and if Winston can just play adequately, then that puts them in pretty darn good shape. And this would be a game where Cleveland would have been favored by a field goal or more.
Right.
With that history along if the season had gone the way it was supposed to go.
Yeah.
This is not a good matchup for Herbert in the pass game.
Okay. Well, I have one word to use, which anybody who knows me over the years, it's one of my most unfavorite words, which is incredibly overused in every sport, distraction. Okay. Is the fact that Jameis Winston has some legal issues a potential distraction to him and how he goes, you're way too confident. Sorry.
Well, I guess I haven't been reading up on it, so I don't know what the day-to-day situation is. But when you have tunnel vision when you play on Sunday, or you lose your job, especially in Cleveland.
I've seen Jameis in tunnel visions at time, and he gets lost in the tunnel when he throws 5 picks.
I think we had a question on the Bears. I think
yes, and I like that question.
I think that I'll go back to what I said before. I think they're in an absolute must-win situation based on their remaining schedule. They haven't played a divisional game yet, and the road is very tough ahead of them. And Arizona knows that they're inconsistent as hell, and they've got a little softer road ahead of them. I mean, they're both going to be busting their ass. It probably should be a good game, but I think the Bears will be ready to play.
I think they've said all the right things this week, all the players rallying and just bonding together. I mean, they don't like what happened, especially the way it happened, but
I hope not.
But I don't think it'll be a distraction. Either they're good enough or they're not good enough. And Arizona's defense, for example, isn't perfect. So it's going to be an interesting matchup between two quarterbacks who improvise quite a bit.
Well, I think it's coming down to a Hail Mary myself, but what do I know?
That would be something.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Eberflus factor will soon become very obvious over the second half of the season. Is this guy truly the head coach for this team, or head coach for any team, but certainly for this one?
Well, you'd be saying, people would be talking differently about the team had they won last week. That they came from behind, they took the game, they stopped Washington on the final drive, and they're right in the thick of an incredibly tough division.
Yeah, but anybody who watched the game knows that Chicago never should have won that game. They were dominated in that game, and they lucked out and won. Washington lucked out and won the way they won.
I don't know about Dom.
They were dominated. Look at the stats.
No, I will say they're not dominated because we saw Washington kick 7 field goals against the New York Giants week 2, and we saw them stopped in the red zone against a very good Chicago point defense and overall red zone defense. So, you can point to the stat sheet, but you can also point to the fact that Chicago's defense doesn't allow a lot of touchdowns.
Right. Well, yeah, but Washington's defense didn't allow anything in the first half to a Chicago offense that should be better.
Yeah.
I mean, they were down 12-0 at halftime. They weren't even in the game. They had nothing. They did nothing in the first half.
Okay.
So, they got to be better is what I'm saying, especially offensively. And that, to me, Eberflus is not exactly an offensive guru the last time I checked.
Well, it'd be nice if he could win a road game. Has he won a road game?
I haven't noticed that. That's a good look that up, Ron.
You got me working overtime.
Yeah. Check out your travel agent in Chicago. See what's going on.
Yeah, need my travel.
One thing's for sure, though, that Caleb Williams is outside of last week. He looks like his confidence level is just really just getting impressive.
Chicago won in London. That's a semi-road game.
Okay. And otherwise they're over?
Yeah, but wasn't that a home game for them?
Well, whatever.
It was one of their home games, wasn't it?
It doesn't matter. It's a neutral site. Who cares? I just want to know you guys' thoughts on Williams, though, Caleb, how he's coming along at the midway point of his first season.
He's doing fine. Nothing.
Yeah, no, I think he's making progress, but he's an emotional tampon, and we're gonna have to see how he develops. Along the way, with his head and his thinking. So,
right. And number one pick, though, I mean, you would hope he was doing a little bit better than just he's doing okay. I mean, that's the way I see it. He's not the 38th pick in the draft. He's number one. He'd better be doing a little better than okay.
Some people have even said that Chase Daniels might be as good as him.
Chase Daniels? I don't think so. Good luck with
All right,
that.
guys.
Anything
I will
else?
say this. No, just good luck to everybody this week, and enjoy the games.
Trick or treat, everybody. Have fun tonight. Send me the extra candy later.